Penguin finale.
So, before we talk about the actual show, how many awards do they win? There's got to be some awards in there. There's got to be a lot of awards.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately for Agatha, I
don't think this show's going to be competing in the comedy category somehow.
You say that, but knowing the award people are like, oh, it's a superhero show, that's a comedy. Yeah, potentially. If Agatha's lucky, that this will probably end up in drama because of how good it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've smashed it. And the amount, what's wild to me is the amount of people that, because of the finale, are suddenly going, wait, this Penguin show's good? Like, some people have just been sleeping on it because they saw a Batman spin-off show, and then, like, I've seen so many people like, no, it's worth it. Like, you need that, to people like that are doubting it. Can I just say, I'm sorry, Colin Farrell. I doubted you, but fuck Penguin.
Yeah, big time. It's really funny because we have a lot of ideas on this show, and we vocalize them ideas. We don't like hide behind any ideas, and there is always a chance that it's very easy to just kind of dismiss us and go, right, cool, you don't work in the industry. These are just ideas. They have no base.
Yeah.
To see something that me and you've been screaming about for ages of comic books on a genre, tell a comic book story within a genre, and then you have the genre being gothic, crime, kind of that kind of genre, to tell the Batman and the Penguin, and it working flawlessly, feels like such a vindicated moment of, cool, now do the exact same thing. It doesn't need to be the same characters and the same story style, but the concept of, I want to tell a Thor story and we're going to make it whatever genre that we think works, is smart. We saw the same idea with like Werewolf by Night, where it was a comic book story, but it was told as a horror project and it worked.
Let's be honest, this has been done by DC before. Smallville.
Yeah.
That wasn't a super, like, your typical Superman TV. Like, this was a Smallville, son of a farmer. Oh, by the way, he's Superman. He's just going through high school. Like, they did that with intent of, let's tell like a high schooler's story, but the high schooler happens to be Superman.
Yeah. The genre we're going for is the high schoolers who are all clearly too old to actually be high schoolers, and it's a coming of age story. We're just making Superman the main character. Yes, absolutely. And we knew it worked back then, and they convinced themselves it didn't work. Yeah. And now, fortunately, the next time someone's properly tried it, we now have like a shining example of, comic book fatigue isn't real when something like the Penguin can exist.
This is what we've said. There is no comic book fatigue. There is just bad execution, and people are sick of bad execution.
We have 100 years of comic book media. There are hundreds of thousands of great stories in there that have never been told to a wider audience. You just have to make sure you adapt to them and tell them in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild to now look at like the DC side of things, especially, and think that we had Smallville, which obviously looking back is dated to its time in style, but that's fine. But it was a great show. We then got the CW era, and then we're here, and it's like, you really went wrong in the middle. Like, just stick to what clearly is working. And I mean, a shining example of how well this is hit, let's be honest, is this was always going to be a one season spin-off. There was no, Matt Reeves had said, I'm pretty sure, about like, oh, this is just a spin-off of the Penguin, like, this isn't intended to be a long-running thing. And now, there's we'll get into in the news later, but like, there is talks now for a season 2 of this because it's done so well that they're like, hold on, let's not throw this away. We're onto something here.
in the most American media way ever.
Yeah,
It's just like more seasons, more seasons. Now I'm gonna say, me and you have both been worried for Vic for a long, long time,
yeah,
and we've been huffing some copium.
yeah.
I was huffing
Especially last
copium the
week.
entire episode.
So was I.
When I think I said it in Discord or something. When they were sat by the river, and obviously we're going to be jumping all over the timeline of
Yep.
the episode, as we always do. As they were sat by the river having that kind of like end
Heart
of
to heart.
season chat,
Yeah.
the second that Penguin said he go finish that, I turned to Jenna and I went, he's back to mice and men him. I literally, the second he was like, here you go, kid, finish the rest of that, something in my brain went, you've seen this trope before, he's going to kill him, he's dead.
So I didn't have it as strongly as you.
Oh, the second that happened, my gut literally dropped. I was like, no. I thought he was going to make it.
The way he was talking, and in the back of my head, I'm like, Vic knows a lot. Like in the typical trope of he's seen this villain at their like most vulnerable. He's dead.
And we know that perception has always mattered to Penguin.
He has a lot of leverage against him. Like a villain sees that as like, oh, you've got that as leverage against me now. I can't allow that.
Do you know what ironically was the biggest kind of red flag earlier in the episode about Vic being killed? The fact that he would willingly let his own mother lose a finger just so that he didn't have to openly admit that the perception of him was a murderer of his brothers.
So many things in this episode finally cemented Penguin as being like, this shit. Just a shit.
Public, the perception of him is all that he cares about, to the point where everyone in the room knows he murdered his brothers. He still won't admit it because that then locks the perception that he just killed his own brothers out of jealousy.
Like, with them on the park bench, I was like, I didn't know if I didn't expect it in the manner of which it happened. But I was brutal. Like, Vic knows too much. Like, if he gets out of this season, I don't think his future's safe.
Yeah.
Still, I was like, it's now just a ticking, or I was like, something's going to still happen before the end. I wasn't expecting it right in that moment. I was like, oh, Vic knows too much. And how we'd seen Penguin act in that whole episode, I was just like, unfortunately, Vic, you've been great, but you've got to know too much that Penguin doesn't want people to know about. Like, he hid his mother, and then he's just got to witness the Penguin have a breakdown. But to then strangle him right there, I was like, oh shit. And the way that they acted that was brutal.
Yeah, it was rough. Which we've said a couple of times. Like when Vic shot that dealer, we were like, that was really visceral. It didn't shy away from how gruesome it is.
Yeah.
It was the exact same thing again. Like you're just sat there on your sofa watching it, and you're like, there's nothing I can do to save Vic right now. And you just have to live with the fact that this is that. And yeah, it's characters, but like really good performances suck you in like that, and it was just a case of you felt like you're watching someone you cared about can be snuffed out in front of you.
I think the thing that added to it as well is like, obviously all season we've been a bit like unsure, like Vic, Penguin having a right hand man's a bit, does that actually outlive this season? Then there was a point where like, oh, Vic's he's at a crossroad now. He either turns into this like number one right hand man gangster, or he runs away. You had the theory of like, what if he goes like Robin route for Batman?
I have something to add to that.
Well, with this episode, him gathering the gangs and then him having that play with the like Yakuza second level guy to all the lower level ones finally take over from the top dogs. Like, I was like, oh, Vic's now prove it, like he has gone full gangster. Like Penguin's gonna be like, okay, shit, you have like crossed that bridge. But then as it got to the end, I was like, that's not enough to protect him.
Well, again, like in retrospect, this episode tells us the entire time that Vicky's going to die. And another bit of like the massive obvious foreshadowing in retrospect, which is what really good foreshadowing is that in all of the other gangs, the second in command killed the boss.
Yeah.
Apart from
Mm.
Penguin and Vic, Penguin dealt with Vic.
Because we're shown to see Penguin as the second in command throughout the season, because he's under the Maroney and under the, but yeah, the whole
he
finger
deals with
thing,
his second in command so that he knows he's safe.
Yeah, but going to the whole finger, like that bit with his mum's finger, and we get to learn that his mum always knew, was gonna have him killed but changed her mind, which is a messed up level of shit. I mean, that whole to the whole thing in the theater, like the theater place, where us as the viewers know, everyone in the room knows, but he won't admit, and he would let his mum's finger get cut off. I think that was the first thing in this episode where I'm like, okay, Penguin, like, we know he's a villain. We know comic books well enough, but there's definitely been a perception of him this season to be like more of your local gangster that looks after the local people, but like they tried to paint him in a better light than he is. This really showed, oh no, he is so self-centered and will do anything, doesn't care about anybody, even his own mother.
Do you know what I think that kind of is, like, thematically? I think that's been used as kind of a point of the way the show's been portraying him was you're succumbing to the Penguin propaganda yourself.
Yeah.
Like this image that he wants to put out of being for the people, and he's like, yeah, I do bad things, but I look after people. I don't hurt anyone who's not involved. Was literally like almost the first 7 episodes were us almost seeing what he wanted us to see, and then as it all got more chaotic, we saw more of his true colours, the taking advantage of every opportunity, being willing to kill anyone who even slightly upsets him, and all of that stuff building. And then by the end, you are just like, yeah, you are.
No, he's just a psychotic villain. Like,
yeah.
Even after his mum snapped at him and said she knew, she thinks he's the devil, and stabs him with a glass bottle, he still acts like that's not just happened.
Yeah.
And saves her, like takes her to hospital, and was like, acts as if she hasn't just admitted that she knew. Like, he's so messed up in his head that he can't admit it, because it's that thing where like people tell themselves a lie so long that they finally believe, like they don't know anything but that, like they can't actually believe the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with your thing about the 7 episodes has like been propaganda, I think with Vic added in that mix really helped sell it, because we're seeing him look after a local guy and help him out and train him up. We're like, okay, he's just trying to help better. And then it's like, this was the first thing. Then obviously that leads to everything going down, like the gangs taking over, Sophia burning the house down, to her getting arrested.
Yeah.
And then you get like the celebration moment of sort of like, we did it. And then he kills Vic, and you're like, oh, he is just the villain. Do you want to know what I thought was the creepiest thing, though?
Go on.
Right at the end, he got his girlfriend, hooker friend, that to dress like
his mother,
dress like his mom, and then tell him he did. I was like, this. I forget what it is.
Cheek puppy.
No,
Oedipus.
Is that what it is? Where like people have an obsession with wanting to.
Yeah, Oedipus. Yeah, Oedipus complex.
yeah, I was like, oh, he's got that. I couldn't think of what the term, but I was like, he's got that thing where he wants to be with his mum.
Yeah,
And I was
absolute
like,
fucking
this
weirdo.
this is so creepy now. Um and really then I was like, this is why Penguin is a villain.
Are you ready for the even deeper part of that as well?
Go on.
His mother resented him for what he did to her brothers.
Yeah, now she's
Sorry,
trapped with him.
but the the hooker lady also knows that he knows about what Carmine did and did nothing about it.
Yeah, so
So the
she's
person that he's got cosplaying as his mother, who resented him for something that he didn't know she
also
knows,
resents shit, yeah. I didn't even think
and
about that,
like
but yeah.
this episode is teeming with that stuff and like dark parallels, like him throwing Vic's license into the water,
Mm.
the same water that killed his family, and now he's joining them.
Well, and also mirrored when he first got the license off Vic, when he first caught him and looked at his name, and then obviously put it back and gave it to him, but instead he threw it away this time.
And I realised why I was thinking Robin a couple of weeks ago.
Go on.
This has been a retelling of Robin. Vic is Robin, but he's not.
Okay.
And I know that sounds ridiculous, but thematically, he is Robin. He's been taken on by the main character.
Uh-huh.
He's been trained by the main character. He's been developed by the main character. He's been protected by the main character.
Uh-huh.
But that is to make us think that Penguin's a good guy, and then he deals with him how the Penguin would deal with him, not how Batman would deal with him. To make it more blunt, how did Vic meet Penguin? He was trying to steal the rims off of his car. Jason Todd met Batman by trying to steal the rims off the Batmobile.
Yeah.
The difference,
Is who was the one being the mentor.
exactly.
Yeah. I
And
get what you mean.
and it like with the parallel being like rims as well. They both die at the end, but that shows Penguin getting worse. Where that was actually a turning point for Batman in a oh my god, I've got to protect people, I've got to be more, I've got to be better.
Well, yeah, the difference being that he didn't have a hero teaching him. He had a villain, and the villain
Yeah.
was a villain and showed his true.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird way of having a Robin story within a Batman world without it being Robin. And I genuinely think that's why I felt like he could become a Robin. Because they were teeing
Yeah.
him up and he was being treated like a Robin character, but just on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that them parallels are so striking when you look back at it, but I didn't even realize that that's what was making it feel familiar,
Mm.
has to be just a massive round of applause to the writers.
Well, I mean, yeah, we know Matt Reeves loves the Batman franchise, so if he's told he can't do or if he's not able to do a Robin, maybe because they want to save Robin for the DCU or something, maybe he's finding his way of
Yeah.
sneaking it in there. But
Um,
I mean, incredible series. Definitely set up a few things. So we obviously got Sophia gets arrested
uh-huh.
after Penguin goes to see his little congressman man.
Did I send you the
The
tweet
wallpaper
about
thing.
that? Yeah.
So, okay, I saw multiple tweets about this. So in that courtroom, he's having this
Yes.
conversation of like, it's just there's a crazy woman got released from Arkham, and then it's like basically being like, yes, I was involved in this. This is how I know it all, but I'm not going to tell you that, and you know that. But I'm spinning this in a way that you get all the information that does make plausible sense. Typical playing with politicians, making them into dirty. Like,
You get to go and be a hero.
you get to be a hero. Here's the information you need to elevate yourself, which you want to use because you're greedy in that sense. But we have a deal here that you're not going to get me involved in this, and you're going to let me
Exactly.
continue. Basically, we saw him set this up when he first met the guy. But yeah, you sent me a tweet, and obviously I saw a lot of tweets where people like this courtroom had wallpaper and it's owls. I can't see the fucking owls.
So if you look at the wallpaper and the silhouette created by the curtains,
Okay, I
The
couldn't
shape
see
that
it.
is left is an owl shape. It's like unequivocally an owl shape.
My brain didn't
And
see
then
it.
when you bear in mind that it's a courtroom, it's a court of owls.
Yeah,
You're dealing with like conspiratorial stuff. There was a couple of references in the first Batman film that had people going,
Court of
hmm.
Owls in the future. Yeah,
It really does make that a very real possibility in a very
I
exciting way.
there's a few things that we know. Matt Reeves has said this is going to lead straight into the Batman 2, and that the villain will be set up in some way. Now, like you said, there's the Core of Owls, which is like a theme theory that is run from the first film now into this, and plausible going forward. We've got Sophia's been arrested and gets a letter from her half sister,
Mm-hmm.
Catwoman. Potential of some team up there of scheming together. So I don't think Sophia's fully out. Like we were expecting Sophia to die,
Yeah, I thought that
and
was a very real possibility.
they were just going to wrap that story. But like, I don't mind them keeping her alive and having her come back again, essentially. And then we've got the Doctor, who still no one seems to be talking about much.
Also,
Also,
I've never felt so gaslit by people not mentioning something.
he's just back at Arkham.
Yes, that he must have got the job back there simply to have access to her.
Theory: did he ever leave the job? Did he
Oh,
just say to her that he left the job
I
then
mean,
he got to stay close? Obviously, he was around her, but there was plenty of times when he's not there.
yeah. I mean, yeah. All we have to suggest that he quit was his word, which is worth dick all.
How do we know he didn't want to stay close to her because he was like trying to manipulate her a bit and like obviously had this strange obsession with her. But yeah, obviously, he's back in Arkham. He can be close to her still. He's back in a controlling position with her again. He's very sus. Like, still,
The fact that no one is talking about him is driving me up the fucking wall.
he's been so prominent. This whole red light, the thing we've seen now, where we saw it from the mum, actually, her reliving the dream.
Yeah.
It wasn't shown as a flashback. It was actually shown as her reliving the memory. Is very, like we said, Scarecrow vibes, where like the idea that you could make someone relive a memory but twist it is like literally a step away. And
But with the way they're kind of telling stuff in this world and wanting to stay away from the too fantastical, how do you make a fear toxin work? You make it something that makes you susceptible to memories but open to suggestion. Scarecrow sits right there. He might not be Scarecrow, but he knows Jonathan Crane. Jonathan Crane is his best friend or the person he shares a flat with or whatever.
I think in the Batman 2, either he's going to really start dabbling with what he's doing and pushing the experiments into a more darker place, or we're going to get Batman dropping someone off at Arkham or something, and it's a new scientist, and then that's going to be Kane. Like, there's a new young scientist who then learns these things from the ones that are there, but twists them because he's not all right. Like,
absolutely.
There's a something built. There's something there. Whether they actually do anything with it or it's just kind of like a bit of a tease, who knows? But I do think Batman 2 is going to have a few. There'll be one main villain fit storyline, but I think there'll be a few things like Sophia maybe and Catwoman, maybe something with the Scarecrow potential. It's very exciting. I know Matt Reeves, I think I sent it to you earlier, has said that the Batman 2 is going to be Batman struggling with being Batman and blaming himself for everything that's happened, which I guess kind of you can use that to be like, that's why he never showed up when there was an explosion in the show.
Well, so as I think as an extension of that quote, he kind of said, the reason you don't really see Batman is Gotham is real and crime is everywhere. Batman is doing everything he can, but he is only one man,
Yeah.
and he's kind of running himself into the ground. And also, they did cut a scene where Vic bumped into him.
Oh, like bumped into Bruce.
No, bumped into the
Oh.
Batman.
Oh.
But by the sounds of it, it didn't work or make sense, so they had to cut it. They couldn't make it work. So they weren't like completely against him being there. They just couldn't find a way for it to make sense.
Well, yeah.
And I think for how kind of raw Batman was in the Batman, it makes sense that if he's feeling really guilty for what went wrong, he would be focusing on stopping obvious crimes that are happening as a result of that, i.e., the less organized crimes, the people stealing from each other just to have food and stuff of that nature. The organized criminals are smarter, they're more hidden. He's going to deal with what he can see
Yeah.
and not go looking for something deeper right now because there's just so much to deal with.
True.
I do disagree that with him like not even remotely giving a fuck about something getting blown up though. I don't know how.
I get
Unless
them.
that's how they introduce his reaction to Penguin in the Batman 2. If in the Batman 2 he comes flying through that fucking window at the end of the episode and goes, "Tell me what you know about the explosion," fair enough.
And gives him the beating that he deserves for Vic.
When they were dancing around up there and I saw that big window, I was like, show me some feet coming through that motherfucker.
I get them struggling to find a way to use that clip of like, because you don't want it, which we said from the beginning, is you don't want to just chuck Batman in for the sake of it. And then if you do it wrong, people go, "Oh, he was only there," so you can be like, "Batman's in this." I still think they could have got round it, like we said last week, where you have the criminals talking about so and so when like someone's snooping around. It's that guy that like speaking about it in kind of hush hush.
One of our shipments got nabbed by the bat.
Yeah, like
whatever.
Have him be like outskirts in that sense, but I guess we'll wait and see. Also, like this is obviously going to get talks for a season 2 now. We've got the Batman 2 coming, and we've got another spin-off. Like Matt Reeves is like potentially going to just go running with this world. It seems.
You know what has me weirdly excited, and I hadn't considered it? Colin Farrell has said he's got a couple of scenes in the Batman 2.
Yeah.
We're looking at a season 2, and he said he's also signed on for a third film.
Yeah.
As the Penguin. Yeah? That would mean that for the first time in comic book media of this scale, we're getting recurring villains.
Yeah, he will be the most recurring.
Do you know who the most recurring villain is right now? Loki.
Joker. Oh, I thought you meant in
No, I mean within one franchise.
Yeah.
It's Loki,
and
even by the halfway point, he's a fucking hero.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I love Tom Hiddleston, I love Loki, but one of the really good selling points of making this feel like an actual superhero world is villain. Like the Batman's perfect. Well, I throw the motherfucker in Arkham, he breaks out, I catch him again, I throw him back in. That is the Batman loop. He's doing his best, but shit happens. It feels like they're setting that up a little bit.
We know as well with Penguin and Batman, we saw it in the first one, like he sometimes uses Penguin when he needs to. Like they have that relationship of Penguin is a villain, don't get it wrong, but like Batman will leverage him for what he knows of what's going on.
And I think he's going to turn on him now that he's so important.
Yes, but I think we might see Penguin need Batman's help. Because if Sophia gets out with Catwoman, suddenly he's being hunted by them two. Maybe he turns to Batman to be like, so like being like, "Oh, I'm in trouble. Please help me." And Batman's like, "Quit the fucking bullshit." But yeah, this Sophia's running fucking chaos around town. That as the hangman, maybe if she fucking lives into it.
Maybe this time she fully does snap and becomes the hangman. Yeah.
Like I see their dynamic. Like they're obviously going to use him as the street level mobster. Like they've done a really good job of telling that side of Gotham, and they've nailed it. Like you say, we've ended this going. Penguin's a fucking villain, which is what they need, because if they want him to recurring villain, we don't want the Loki effect where if we got to the end of this and it's like Vic's still alive, and we'd be like, oh, Penguin's just a mobster, but he's not a villain. Like, he's a bit messed up in the head. But like, they made sure that we ended this season going, Penguin is a fucking villain.
There was a real concern at one point we were going to end this show going, okay, yeah, he's a bad dude, but it's better than Carmine Falcone being in charge. He's heinous. Yeah. And at the end, we're like, Christ, they are all just as evil as each other. Batman, please throw them in Blackgate. Get them gone. Get them in prison. Lock them up.
So I'm intrigued to see. I'm looking forward to if they do a second season of that being, obviously, I presume after Batman 2, at least, getting to see how he's now running things and what comes of that. What the next spin-off might be is also potential for something really cool.
I think this is a really strong case study for the Elseworlds concept. Like, if you've got a clear vision of what you want to do with a character, I feel like you can go to James Gunn and go, you let Matt try this with a clear artistic vision and it worked. That's what I want to do with The Flash or whoever. And I think that this becomes a case of, okay, we'll do another one. And if it doesn't have to, like, I'm not saying it needs to be married to this like noir style or whatever, but say you want to do a Flash project and it has a very distinct style that doesn't mess up with the DCU and it works, at that point you're going to get more Elseworld projects, and more Elseworld projects with a clear tone and vision is what's going to end up making comic book media massive again, because there will be something for everyone again.
Do you know what I've just thought they could do as another spin-off? Just throwing this out as a prediction. We've obviously got the Batman films showing it from Batman's perspective. We've now got this Penguin spin-off showing the villain underworld street level. What if we had like a TV show that is focused on a reporter?
Oh, investigating
A reporter in Gotham, yeah, that would deal with the Gotham police, both the good and corrupt, would try and probably get hold of Batman, would be chasing what the fuck Penguin's doing and stuff, like finds themselves in some like mess of a case that potentially ties them into this world. Like a different perspective than just hero or villain. It's like that, or a cop in Gotham Police that isn't corrupt or like slowly ends up being in the wrong place at the wrong time, sort of thing.
Yeah. There's options. It's one of the more fleshed out versions of Gotham we've ever got. And I'm right there with you in the sense of, like, please don't let it go to waste. Squeeze every story out of that city. I'm definitely excited to see what comes next from Matt Reeves and co, though, and I'm so glad that this show has stuck so well to get people excited for DC again.
Oh yeah.